Welcome back everybody, my name is Robert, and in this video we're going to be looking at my brand new GB Retro Game Development Sketchbook. This is perfect for Game Boy Studio developers. It has some information on how GB Studio works, but what it really is for you to get your ideas onto paper. I know that we make digital games, however I do feel as though there is still value in putting pen to paper and getting your ideas out before you get it onto the screen. So you can get this on Amazon for £5.99 or whatever it is in your respective location, and we'll just have a quick look for it, and please check it out if you are interested by it. I do feel as though putting your ideas onto paper is so much more valuable than we recognize, and there are some tips for GB Studio users in here as well. And if you have any feedback, please give it to me, because I really want to improve this. I want to make a better version. I do feel like the A4, although it's useful for sketching, it's not very good for transportation. So I might make a smaller version as well that's more pocket-sized. So in the introduction, I'm basically saying why I made this and why you should too, and why the GB Studio scene is good, but you can use this even if you're not using GB Studio. The first two pages which you use yourself are the developer page and the dream game page. So the developer is you. You have to write down, who are you? Have you ever really gone introspective and thought about who you are and your favorite games, your favorite movies, your favorite TV shows, your favorite books, your favorite places, your favorite people, and then your mission statement. Why do you make games? When you write this all down, it gives you a moment to really reflect. I know a lot of the time we're on our phones, or we're watching TV, or we're driving to work, or we're at work, and we're not really thinking about, why we do the things we do. And I think it's good that we have this page here to really think about that. And if you want, you can also sketch your portrait in the little pixel grid up the top. And then the second page is the dream game page. So we all come to game development with a dream game. More than likely, it's a game that already exists that has elements of another game that already exists. So for example, I really like cars, so my dream game would probably be a 3D car game where you can, manufacture a car that you love and race it in rallies or on tracks or around the streets or whatever. That would be a dream game of mine. And by writing it down, the idea is that you will see pieces of it. What makes it good, right? So, for example, you might write down the story. And although you couldn't make this massive 3D multiplayer game, you can use that story to tell in a different place. And by doing that, we're actually practicing for this dream game. We're making pieces of it. We're getting better at game development. We're not just jumping into this dream game expecting it to be perfect, because as the name suggests, it's a dream. It probably doesn't really exist, or it can't really exist, unfortunately. But by writing it down, we're helping us get closer to it. Next pages are the inspiration and game ideas. So the idea is, with the inspiration, like I've done before, coming up with game ideas, it can be difficult. We often get stuck in the same patterns, which means that we don't really expand our skill set because we're just sticking to what we know. So hopefully by rolling the dice and finding something here that you might not think is possible, but by writing it down in this bit over here, the game ideas, you might be able to shrink it enough to realize that it is possible. So for example, if we roll the dice and just look at this right now, we might get something like a horror and then a puzzle game. How would a horror puzzle game work? And by really sitting down and thinking about this stuff, you might find, for example, if it's a speed puzzle game, then the time ticking down leads to a jump scare or something that's novel, something you might haven't heard before. And that concept might, although it might not be that good or you might not make it, it's now in your head, or you've written it down, and you can now use it in the future on something different. And that idea might spark something more creative down the line. So hopefully this page of inspiration will help you, and writing all of the little game ideas down will help you as well. And then moving on, these are now all the repeating pages. So this is actually a sketchbook. The majority of this is just repeating pages for you to write down your game ideas and fully flesh them out, sketch ideas next to them. Then you look more into the game flow. How does it move from screen to screen? And then the user interface is, what does the screen look like? We then have the sprites. So this is more thinking about the characters in your game and the assets. And then we've got a little pixel grid here for you to be able to sketch them. Think about the size you're using. And then here we have also the background, so the tile sets that we're using. And if I go to the very back of the sketchbook, I filled it out with my own games. So you can you can use this to understand how you might use it yourself. So for example, with the game info, I've got the Clockmaker's Tale, which outlines what I was thinking when I was doing it. So it obviously has the locations, the idea of the assets, what will I actually have to make for this game? Thinking about that kind of stuff is very important. Then next to it we have the sketches, so the rosebed and the bicycle. We've got some, my whiteboard drawing that I did at the time, thinking about, what I wanted. I wanted, like an old university. I wanted freedom of cycling. I wanted plants, and I feel as though the game that came from it still has that feeling. We then have the game flow. So this was Take It Racing 2. It kind of it looks at how it moves from scene to scene. And then the user interface, I have my game Space Shipper, which is very menu based, so we can see how it operates. Also has some UI assets at the very bottom on the right there. And then finally we have the sprites and backgrounds. The sprites I did Office Combat, so we can see kind of the punching animations, and then the office supplies at the very bottom. And then the backgrounds, we have a Western ballad, so we have the cool tile sets I made for my first ever GB Studio game. These pages repeat throughout, so you have to fill out this book yourself. Use it as a perfect place to sketch stuff. So you can see I've been trying to expand on tile density, and I've been using the exact screen size of these user interface pages to construct what tile density could be. I'm using the game flow area over here to think about how the player moves from scene to scene. This is obviously A4, very big. So yeah, if this is something that might interest you, if you think that you will use it, has over 100 pages, and obviously most are repeating. And in the middle we have pixel grid and a notes page. So if you want to be sketching pixel art or just writing down ideas, there's a lot of space here for you. Please go and check it out on Amazon. It should be available in all regions. Let me know what you think of it. If you buy it and use it, please send a screenshot on my Discord. That'd be fantastic. Yeah, let us know how I'd improve it. I feel as though it's the perfect accompaniment to any GB Studio developer. I hope that you can get some use out of it, because I'm actually using it quite a lot. It's really useful to have the grids that are actually 8x8 rather than 10x10. If you get graph paper, it's often 10x10, the pixels or the squares. So in this one, obviously it's 8x8. So on that note, I'll put my patrons up on screen. Thank you so much to you guys. You guys are the absolute best. Remember to like the video if you like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Consider buying this sketchbook, or at least letting me know how you sketch your ideas. Where do you track your ideas, right? I do think that using pen and paper is really valuable. On each of the pages there's also a date, and I recommend you use that, because going back and looking at when you did something is really valuable. And by having it physically, you'll just fill this book with game ideas. Isn't that just a beautiful idea? I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.